Shalom and blessings, Rabbi Michael. I heard a video that you did earlier about the two Mashiachs, and I wanted to do this video as a response, not a response. I mean, I think that was wrong. Maybe as a conversation, maybe like a dialogue only. Not in any way as a challenge or a debate or anything like that. Well, some of the things that you say there were very accurate, and it was a very interesting source that you brought from Maimonides, from the Rambam. But I just wanted to say some things that maybe we can clear up in the air, especially during the times that we're living in. I think you, as well as most of as rabbis and the Jewish people, know that we're living in some unparalleled times, and most of us thinks that we're living in a time that could be, possibly the time that the Messiah can actually come, and that the goal of the redemption can begin. May it be so, soon in our days. But there's some things that, according to my studies and according to the studies of various scholars and even rabbis, Orthodox rabbis at that, have come to see things a bit different. And I think it's a discussion that we should have without stepping on any toes, with respect towards each other, and it's just an endeavor for truth, right? I know that there's a lot of stories, and it's no fault of y'all's own. We all know of the terrible persecutions in history that Christianity has had towards the Jewish people, towards the Jewish community for just about 2,000 years now. So that doesn't help the cause of the idea, the imprint that has been left in the consciousness of the Jewish people about Jesus of Nazareth, right? But I mean, again, I'm not here to argue, is Jesus the Messiah or nothing like that. Not at all. I mean, I honestly believe that whoever the Messiah is, right, Hashem will make sure to put his stamp of approval on him, and there will be no doubt in the eyes of all people, starting with the Jewish people, that he is the Messiah, right? The Messiah is someone who will prove himself to be the Messiah because the mission, his mission, he will accomplish his mission, right? And I mean, we've been for 2,000 years. We haven't seen anything. We know that the Geulah is a process, so it's something that would take time to develop, and I think we're in the final stages of that time. Sages and the rabbis believe that we're in the time called the Chevlei Mashiach, the footsteps of the Messiah. And yeah, so with that being said, I wanted to say a few things about Jesus of Nazareth, right? I think that there's a big difference. There's a huge difference between who the historical Jesus of Nazareth is and the portrait, the picture, the lens that has been presented of him by traditional Christianity. I mean, I'll just name some scholars who have been able to see that. And a lot of these things are coming more so to light in our days because we are in the time right before the redemption. So these truths have to come out, right? So, so Jesus of Nazareth is a man. I mean, let's first start with the scholars. I mean, we're talking about scholars that have done this research, like Joseph Klausner, the Jewish scholar Joseph Klausner, David Flusser, the Jewish scholar David Flusser, Geza Vermes, great rabbis, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, Rabbi Harvey Falk. I mean, there's many that I can name. Mark Nanos. They have all done this historical research, and And we also know from historical writings, even the writings of the church fathers themselves, that there's a great difference between the Jewish followers of Jesus in the early couple centuries, 2nd century, 3rd century, and a lot of the new non-Jews that were coming into the fold, which eventually took over, became the majority, and the religion that was believed upon them became the state religion of Rome. And this is the only portrait that has been portrayed for the majority, because the Jewish voice and the Jewish believers were a minority. And so not only was this the only picture painted of Jesus, but it was painted with horrible deeds that left an indelible mark, an imprint that has never been forgotten. How can the Jewish people ever even get a good look, or when it was all forced, and they're saying that this is the man who's the Messiah, but he's killing all the Jewish people. It's the total opposite of who the Messiah is supposed to be, right? So I get it. And I'm terribly pained by this history as I learned it, as I read through the history, and it's very troubling. I think it had a lot to do of how I changed my own views, how I had to confront a lot within Christianity and make the decisions that I had to make. And I am where I am today because of that truth, because of the emes that I came upon, right? Too much truth that I had to make decisions, either to let go a lot of my preconceived ideas and the tradition that was passed on to me, or to walk this new path, which is very difficult. You become an outcast and shunned by the traditional system of Christianity if you believe such things. So, but it is what it is. It's something that I would do 10 times over. We know that Hashem's signatures, emes, truth, so that's what we're all supposed to strive for. The church fathers said that the Jewish believers, that what made them heretics, they would write these books about, the different heretical sects of their time, and the Jewish believers in Jesus were heretics because they were too Jewish. They observed Torah, and they ate kosher, and they prayed facing Jerusalem to the east, and they did not believe in the deity of Jesus, like the church. All these different things, that really starts painting a different picture, and how these voices were snuffed out by force. The church also had the political power, and they were killing people left and right. And so I want to make that clear, that there are two different pictures of a Jesus here being presented. And the Jesus of history, the Jesus who, within his context, within his historical context, is a very Jewish Jesus. Jesus was not a Christian. That didn't come to many centuries, to many years after his life and death. So he was not a Christian. He was a religious Jew within 1st century Judaism. So were his apostles. So were many of his disciples after his time. And I'm not the only one who's come to this knowledge. There are many, many others like me who, have been confronting these truths and accepting them and doing everything that they have to do to make things right between them and God, between them and other men, and to repair the discussion, the dialogue between us and our older brethren, the Jewish people, our teachers. Consider the Jewish people our teachers. Judaism is not a cult. It's not a false religion. Judaism is the way of God. It is the emes, the truth. And the sooner we get to this understanding, the sooner we can fix a lot of things, right? So I wanted to say that about Jesus, right? And then I wanted to present a few views from among Orthodox Jews, some of which you may know, The first one is, well, I'll name the first one is Rabbi Shimon ben Simach Duran, also known as the Rashbats. He writes some amazing things about Jesus, very similar to the other rabbi who I'm going to speak about, and I'm going to quote him, is Rabbi Yaakov Emden, the Yavitz, right? Great Talmudist, great scholar. I'm going to read some things that he wrote about Jesus of Nazareth and the apostles, but I'm only going to quote a few things. If you want the entire source, I can surely give you that, but it's in a sefer, a book that he wrote called Seder Olam Rabah Vezuta. Okay? He says like this. He says, "Therefore, you must realize and accept the truth from him who speaks it, that we see clearly here that the Nazarene and his apostles did not wish to destroy the Torah from Israel. God forbid. For it is written so in Matthew chapter 5. The Nazarene having said, 'Do not suppose that I have come to abolish the Torah. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. I tell you this, so long as heaven and earth endure, not a letter, nor stroke will disappear from the Torah until it is achieved. If any man therefore sets aside even the least of the Torah's commands, and teaches others to do the same, he will have the lowest place in the kingdom of heaven. Whereas anyone who keeps the Torah and teaches others so will stand high in the kingdom of heaven." Rabbi Emden says, this is also recorded in another gospel. "It is therefore exceedingly clear that the Nazarene never dreamed of destroying the Torah." And then in the same work, in another spot, another place in the same work, he says this. He says, Rabbi Yaakov Emden the Yavitz, he says, "It is therefore a habitual saying of mine, not as a hypocritical flatterer, God forbid. For I am of the faithful believers of Israel, and I know well that the remnant of Israel will not speak falsehood, nor will their mouths contain deceit, a deceitful tongue." He says that the Nazarene brought about a double kindness in the world. On the one hand, he strengthened the Torah of Moses majestically, as mentioned earlier, and not one of our sages spoke out more emphatically concerning the immutability of the Torah. And on the other hand, he did much good for the Gentiles, provided that they do not turn about his intent as they please, as some foolish ones have done, because they did not fully understand the intent of the authors of the Gospels. And then he goes on and on and on and on and on. But I just wanted to read that there. And Rabbi the Rashbats, he says, I have the work too. He says almost identically what the Yavitz says. I wanted to read that there, and there's many others. Rabbi Shmuley Poteach, Amy Jo Levine, another Orthodox rabbi. His name is Rabbi Eliyahu Svi Soloveitchik. He wrote a few commentaries on some of the Gospels. He also says that Yeshua is not the same Jesus of the Church, of Christianity. A lot of the historical writings concerning his life, Jesus' life, like I quoted to you from Joseph Klausner, Geza Vermes, David Flusser, Shmuel Safrai. Many of these scholars have written about the historical Jesus. It's totally different from the theological Jesus that we learn, that we all know from thousands of years now, from the church fathers. I mean, worlds apart. Okay, so I wanted to say that about Jesus, and this has nothing to do with him being the Messiah or anything like that. I think it is my duty that we should get this long lost brother, also a Jew in heart and deed and everything. For too long has he been separated, and for too long has been an outcast and speaking illfully from among people who say that they follow him, and they have persecuted his family, the Jewish people. And it is my duty to try to do everything I can to try to make some of those things right. If there's any time ripe, if there's any time that this could be done is in our times. And the last thing I wanted to say was, I know you spoke about the two Mashiachim, right? The two Messiahs. And I know you said it's not what people think. The Rambam says that the two Mashiachim, perhaps this is the concept and the root that brought Christianity, the concept of the Messiah that returns, right? Because, he dies, etc. And the Christianity believes that he's supposed to come back, etc. However, they got it wrong. It was David HaMelech, David the King, and not Jesus. I wanted to speak about what the rabbis, the Rabbonim, what they teach, and the Kabbalists, what they teach concerning the Mashiach, the Messiahs. And when I mean the Messiahs, I mean Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. It's there's a lot going on here, and it's not so simple, just one authority or one issue. Like, the Rambam is great; he's a great authority. But these concepts, Hushkafic concepts, are very difficult to play out and to have it all in full scope. I mean, the Chachamim, the sages, etc. They give us so many details and so much elucidation. It will be wise to try to grasp the totality of their thoughts and opinions on the whole ordeal. But it is known that, I know the Rambam says that if Mashiach is killed, then we know he's not the Mashiach. I think clearly in the laws of kings, right? And when he speaks about the Messiah and his mission, he's speaking about Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben David cannot be killed. He will fulfill his mission. Hashem will be with him to fulfill the mission of the redemption. The people will do tshuva, and Mashiach will come and will be led into the Messianic era, etc. So we know that Mashiach ben David won't die. This is what the Rambam is talking about. He's talking about Mashiach ben David. I don't think the Rambam has in mind anything else. There are many secrets and stuff, and I'm not here to talk about that, but the rabbis explain in very ancient sources, and the Targumim, and I'm sure speak about, the Midrashim, the Kabbalistic sources. They speak about a Mashiach ben Yosef and a Mashiach ben David. Mashiach ben Yosef is, on the one hand, he is supposed to die, and these are unparalleled tzaddikim, unparalleled figures, the Messiah ben Yosef and the Messiah ben David. But Mashiach ben David, there's countless sources that he has a death sentence on his head, and he will die. And his death is one that will bring together the Jewish people, and I think it will cause an atonement upon the nation of Israel. And according to the Arizal, Mashiach ben Yosef is the throne upon which Mashiach ben David stands. Meaning, since we know that the Geula is a process, that the time of the Messianic era and the mission of Mashiach ben David cannot be accomplished without that of Mashiach ben Yosef, for he stands on the shoulders of Mashiach ben Yosef. So, we have a lot of different types of views. I just wanted to share those things, and I'm happy to have this discussion with you. I respect you, and I respect all the rabbis, and I see the Rabbonim as our teachers and the ones who will lead us to the redemption. For Jesus himself taught that salvation comes from the Jews, and we from among the nations do well to cling to the tzitzit of the Jewish people and learn Torah and learn our obligations, what's in the Torah of Hashem, and walk together and do our part. Thank you. Peace.